3 a.m., Guadalajara, Mexico. The pounding on my door was so violent I thought it was an earthquake. I stumbled out of bed, heart hammering, just as the lock splintered. Two armed soldiers in black tactical gear shoved inside, their rifles slung across their chests. One grabbed my wrist before I could scream. "Doctor!" "Mateo Ruiz." I nodded, too stunned to speak. "You're needed. Now." No explanation, no time to pack. They marched me into the humid night, where a military van idled, its headlights cutting through the fog. Inside, Dr. Soto, my old mentor, sat rigid, her grey hair wild, her hands clenched around a sealed dossier. "Sit down," she said, her voice like cracked ice. "Don't ask questions yet." The van sped through deserted streets. Through the window I saw more vehicles, some with government plates, others unmarked, converging toward the airport. "What the hell is happening?" I whispered. Soto didn't look at me. "A village called Los Azules, population 63. As of 18 hours ago, 0 responsive. Mass poisoning? No fever, no seizures, no signs of struggle." Her knuckles whitened. "They just stopped." 5 a.m., military transport plane. They confiscated our phones. No one spoke. The cabin buzzed with low, tense murmurs, doctors, epidemiologists, soldiers. A man in a biohazard suit handed me a dossier, classified, Los Azules incident. Inside, satellite images of a tiny cluster of homes in the desert, then close-ups. Every door and window barricaded from the inside. Photos of the villagers. Faces slack, eyes open but unseeing. Some clutched crucifixes, others held family photos. One had scrawled "abandon" across a wall in paint. A sticky note from Soto, they knew it was coming. 7:30 a.m., Durango Desert. The landing was rough. Outside, the air smelled like dust and ozone. Military trucks surrounded Los Azules, their floodlights turning the dawn red. I stepped onto the sand and froze. The village was wrong, not abandoned, not dead, waiting. Every house was sealed like a tomb, no movement, no sound, just the wind hissing through cracked wood. A soldier grabbed my arm. "Quarantine zone starts here. Full decon suits." As I suited up, Soto leaned in, her breath fogging her visor. "Listen carefully. Whatever's in there, it doesn't follow rules. If you feel anything strange, you run." "Strange how?" Her eyes flicked to the village. "You'll know." 8:15 a.m., house number 4. Chainsaws snarled as soldiers cut through barricaded doors. Inside, a man sat slumped at a table, a half-eaten meal rotting in front of him. His pupils were fixed, dilated. "Vitals?" I asked. "Alive, barely." A nurse shone a light into his eyes. No reaction. Like he's paused. I checked his pulse. Slow, too slow. Then a whisper, not from the man. From the walls. A sound like dry leaves scraping, but rhythmic. Breathing. Soto went rigid. Out. Now we barely made it to the street before the screaming started. Not from the houses, from the tents. A soldier staggered into view, clawing at his helmet. "It's in my head." Then he dropped. Unconscious. The wind died. The desert held its breath. And somewhere, beyond the village, something turned toward us. The soldier's body hit the sand like a sack of grain. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then chaos erupted, shouted orders, radios crackling, boots scrambling in the dust. 2 medics rushed forward, but Soto grabbed my arm, her nails biting through my suit. "Don't touch him," she hissed. The fallen soldier's limbs twitched, his eyelids fluttering as if caught in a nightmare. Then stillness. His chest rose and fell, slow, mechanical, just like the villagers. A captain barked into his radio. "Quarantine breach, lock down the east perimeter." I stared at the unconscious man. What the hell was that? Soto's voice was a blade. "It's learning." 11:47 a.m., quarantine tent. 3. They dragged the infected soldier into isolation. No seizures, no fever, just that eerie, vacant stillness. I helped Soto run tests, my hands shaking. Blood work, EEG, reflex checks. Nothing. "It's like his brain shut off," I muttered. "No, She adjusted the EEG leads. It's hiding. The graph showed faint delta waves, not coma, not sleep, deeper. A shadow fell across the tent flap. The director, a wiry man in a spotless uniform, stepped inside. Report. Soto didn't look up. Same presentation as the villagers, no physical cause. Bullshit. He kicked a stool. There's always a cause. Not this time. She finally met his glare. You brought us here because you knew it wasn't viral. So stop lying to us. The director's jaw tightened. Then he leaned in, his breath sour with coffee. Fine. 3 days ago, a satellite picked up an EM spike near Los Suzulas. Same readings as the zone of silence. My stomach dropped. The Zona del Silencio, a desert patch where radios died, where locals whispered of sky ghosts. You think this is… what? I asked. Aliens? I think, he said slowly, something in this desert chooses who wakes up. 4:30 p.m., village perimeter. The sun bled into the horizon, painting the sand red. I walked the edge of the quarantine zone, trying to shake the dread coiling in my gut. Then I saw it, a footprint. Not human. Twice the length of a man's, with 3 clawed toes sunk deep into the dirt. Fresh. My radio fizzed. Dr. Ruiz, return to base. Now. I backed away and heard it. A click, like stone on stone. Behind me the scrub brush rustled. Something moved low and fast, just beyond sight. I ran, 7:55 p.m. Command tent. The director slammed a map onto the table. We're evacuating non-essentials at dawn. A biologist scoffed. You can't quarantine a thought, Captain. If this spreads, it won't. He stabbed a finger at the map. We burn the village. Soto stood so fast her chair toppled. You'll kill them. They're already gone. Silence. Then from outside, a scream. Not fear, not pain. Recognition. I see you. Gunfire. A wet crunch. The tent flaps burst open. A soldier stumbled in, his face ashen. Sir, we lost Hernandez. Dead. No. He swallowed. He just stopped mid-sentence. Like he forgot how to be alive. The director paled. Where is he? Gone. The soldier's voice broke. Something took him. 9:13 p.m., the first dream. They ordered us to sleep in shifts. I curled on a cot, my mind racing, then plunged. A dream. Too vivid. The desert at night. A shape, blacker than the sky, stalking between the tents. It had no face, just a mouth, a slit splitting open to taste the air. It stopped, turned, it heard me. I woke choking, my skin slick with sweat. Across the tent, Soto sat bolt upright, her eyes wide. You too? She whispered. The radio crackled. All personnel report in. We have movement outside the perimeter. Static. Then, God help us, it's learning our voices. The radio static cut out with a final sickening pop. Silence, then a whisper. Not from the radio, from inside the tent. Do you hear it too? I spun around, Soto wasn't moving her lips. The voice had come from behind me, from the empty corner where shadows pooled too thickly. My skin prickled. We need to get out of here. Soto grabbed my wrist. Number running is thinking. Thinking is what draws it. Outside, a soldier screamed, a wet, gurgling sound that cut off mid-breath. 10:42 p.m. Lockdown. The command tent had become a war zone. Maps were strewn across tables, marked with frantic red X's where patrols had vanished. The director clutched a satellite phone, his knuckles white. We've lost contact with Durango. The roads are… A burst of static. Blocked. No evac until dawn. A young private hyperventilated in the corner. It's in our heads, man. I saw it. In my dreams. The director backhanded him. Shut your mouth or I'll sedate you myself. Soto pulled me aside. Listen, the villagers survived. How? I thought of the barricaded homes, the word ABANDON scrawled on walls. They stopped thinking, I realized, like animals playing dead. Her eyes gleamed. Exactly. We need to trigger a hibernation state, cortisol injections, flood the body with stress hormones until the brain shuts down. That could kill us. So will staying awake. A crash outside, something heavy dragging through the sand. 11:19 p.m., the first injection. We hid in the medical tent, syringes glinting in the dim red emergency light. Soto rolled up her sleeve. Quick, before the canvas wall ripped, not torn, parted like something impossibly sharp had drawn a line through reality. Cold desert air rushed in. And it stepped through, tall, too tall, a silhouette of stretched limbs and jagged edges, its surface drinking in the light. No face, just a presence, pressing against my mind like a thumb to an eyeball. It knew we were here. Soto plunged the needle into her arm. I did the same. The world lurched, the hibernation darkness, not sleep, not unconsciousness, nothingness. I floated in a void where time had no meaning. Distantly, I sensed my body. Heartbeat slowing, breath turning shallow, but I was gone. Memories flickered. A childhood nightmare, a shadow at the foot of my bed, whispering my name in my mother's voice. Medical school, dissecting a brain, realizing how fragile thought really was. The villagers' faces, not afraid, resigned. Then, a pulse, something vast and ancient, scanning the desert, hunting. It passed over me. I was nothing. Not worth noticing. 3:17 a.m. Waking, I gasped awake, my mouth cotton dry. Soto slumped beside me, her pulse thready but steady. Outside, silence, no screams, no gunfire, just the wind. I crawled to the tent flap and froze. The camp was destroyed, tents shredded, vehicles overturned, and the sand, footprints, dozens of them, three-toed, fresh. Something had herded us here. A hand clamped over my mouth. Don't move. The director, his uniform was torn, his face streaked with blood. It took 14 men, he whispered, but it left the ones who stopped thinking. His eyes flicked to the syringe in my hand. You figured it out. Now pray it doesn't figure us out. Dawn, the survivors' sunrise, revealed the carnage. 23 personnel missing, no bodies, just gone. The villagers, though, alive, still unresponsive but breathing, stable. Soto knelt beside the first house, tracing claw marks on the doorframe. It tried to get in. But they were already empty inside. The director lit a cigarette with shaking hands. We're burning this place to the ground. No, Soto stood. We study it. This isn't just happening here, it's spreading. A chill ran through me. How do you know? She handed me a crumpled memo. Classified incident reports. Sonora, 12 sleepers found in a ghost town. Zacatecas, entire train derailed, passengers unresponsive. The director exhaled smoke. Pack up, we're leaving before sunset. But I couldn't stop staring at the horizon. Something was still out there, and it was learning. The helicopter blades thundered overhead as we lifted off from the ruined camp. Below us, Los Suzulas burned, black smoke curling into the dawn like a funeral pyre. I pressed my forehead against the vibrating window. The director had ordered the village torched an hour before sunrise. No evidence, no loose ends, he'd said. But as the flames consumed the houses, I swore I saw shapes moving in the smoke, tall, distorted figures watching us leave. Soto gripped my arm. Don't look back. 11:03 a.m., Durango Military Base. They quarantined us in a concrete bunker deep underground. No windows, no electronics. Just fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry wasps. A nurse in a hazmat suit drew our blood. Standard decontamination, she said, avoiding our eyes. Bullshit, Soto muttered as the door locked behind her. They're checking if we brought it back. I rubbed my temples. My skull ached, like something was pressing against the inside of my forehead. You feel it too, don't you? Soto whispered. I didn't answer, because I did feel it. A presence, not in the room, in my mind. 2:17 p.m., the first test. The director stormed in, flanked by 2 armed guards. His uniform was fresh, but his eyes were haunted. Results came back. You're clean. Soto barked a laugh. You really think a blood test can detect that? He ignored her, sliding a folder across the table. Sonora, Zacatecas. 3 new outbreaks overnight. The photos made my stomach twist. A school bus in Chihuahua, every child inside frozen mid-laugh. A diner in Coahuila, patrons slumped over meals, their food still steaming. All with the same empty stares, the same waiting stillness. It's spreading faster than we can contain, the director admitted. We need a way to stop it before... A scream echoed down the hallway. It's in here. Gunfire. A wet thud. Then silence. The director's radio crackled. Sir, we've lost Sector C. How many? All of them. They just stopped. Soto stood slowly. You idiot. You brought it here. 4:55 p.m. The dreaming sickness. They locked down the base. No one in or out. Through the bunker's air vents, we heard the chaos spreading. Running footsteps. Gunshots. And worst of all, the silence afterward. The director paced like a caged animal. It's targeting strategic locations, communications hubs, military bases. It's not targeting anything, Soto corrected. It's learning, absorbing our knowledge from infected minds. A chill ran down my spine. That's why it took Hernandez first, the soldier who knew the perimeter defenses. The lights flickered. For a heartbeat, the room plunged into darkness. When they came back on, the director was gone. Only his radio remained, hissing static. Then a voice, his voice, but wrong, like something trying to mimic human speech. Don't think. 7:30 p.m. The Hollow Man. We found him in the commissary. The director sat perfectly still at a table, his hands folded, his eyes open but unseeing. A half-eaten sandwich rotted in front of him. God damn it, Soto breathed. I reached for his pulse. His hand twisted, bones cracking as it grabbed my wrist with impossible strength. His head tilted, and he smiled. It's so much quieter. Inside, he whispered. We ran. 9:12 p.m. The escape. The base was collapsing. Soldiers turned on each other, shooting at shadows. Others sat motionless, their eyes tracking nothing. We stole a jeep, Soto slamming the gas as figures emerged from the smoke. Not soldiers, not anymore. Their movements were wrong, jerky, like puppets on strings. One turned its head all the way around to watch us pass. They're not infected, Soto panted. They're puppets. It's using them to learn. The gates loomed ahead. A figure stepped into the road. The director, his mouth unhinged like a snake's, a sound pouring out that wasn't human. Stay and dream. Soto floored it. We hit him at 60 miles per hour. The crunch sounded almost relieved. Before we move on, please donate me in the form of subscribe. Midnight, the road north. We drove in shifts, avoiding cities. Every radio station played the same emergency broadcast. Remain indoors. Avoid sleep. Report unresponsive individuals immediately. Soto stared at the stars. It's not just Mexico. It's everywhere. I gripped the wheel tighter because I could feel it now. The pressure in my skull, the whispers at the edge of my thoughts. It had hitched a ride, and it was hungry. The highway stretched endlessly before us, a black ribbon under the moon. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles ached, fighting the heaviness in my eyelids. Don't, Soto snapped from the passenger seat. I jerked awake. I wasn't... You were about to. 1 second of drifting off and it's in. She cracked the window, letting the cold air bite at our faces. We need to find somewhere to dose properly. I glanced at the syringe in the cup holder, our last cortisol shot. We can't keep doing this. The crashes are getting worse. The last time we'd forced hibernation, I'd woken up with a nosebleed, and Soto had forgotten her own birthday for 3 hours. A road sign flashed by. Nuevo Laredo, 50 kilometers. The border. They'll have checkpoints, I said. Soto's smile was razor-thin. Not for long. 2:17 a.m. The infection spreads. We pulled over at a derelict gas station. The pumps were dry, the windows smashed. Inside, a radio played static to an empty chair. Soto scrolled through emergency broadcasts on a stolen satellite phone. Houston reporting mass narcolepsy event at Bush Airport. Pentagon orders nationwide alert level. Midnight London hospitals overwhelmed with non-responsive cases. It's jumping continents, she whispered, moving faster than we predicted. I rubbed my temples. The pressure had become a constant throb, like a second heartbeat behind my eyes. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I heard words in it. Quiet. Still. Yours. The radio static shifted. A voice broke through. Any survivors, avoid population centers. Repeat, do not approach. A wet crunch. Then a new voice. Guttural, wrong. We see you in the dark. Soto shot the radio. 4:44 a.m. The first blackout, I woke up standing in the desert. No memory of walking there. My hands were caked in dirt, my nails torn and bloody. 30 feet away, Soto shook me violently. Ruiz, look at me. What happened? My tongue felt thick. You left. Walked right past me like I wasn't there. She pointed to the ground, footprints, mine, but deeper, as if I'd been impossibly heavy. And between them, 3-toed marks, like something had been walking with me. Soto pressed the syringe into my hand. It's getting stronger. We need to... Headlights pierced the darkness. A military convoy roared toward us. 5:30 a.m. The checkpoint. They had the look of men who'd seen hell, bloodshot eyes, trembling hands. The captain barely glanced at our forged papers. Northbound's closed. Laredo's gone dark. Gone how? I asked. He lit a cigarette with hands that shook. 2 hours ago, every phone in the city rang at once. People who answered, well? He nodded to a truck where figures sat motionless, IVs in their arms. Now we shoot anyone who so much as yawns. Beyond the barricade, the city skyline flickered, not with lights, but with shadows moving where no shadows should be. It's learning human systems, Soto murmured, using our infrastructure against us. The captain's radio crackled. Containment failed. Repeat, failed. Then the line went dead. So did the captain's eyes. He slumped forward, cigarette still burning between his fingers. All around us, soldiers dropped like marionettes with cut strings. Drive, Soto said. We drove. 8 a.m., the safe house. The abandoned ranch stank of dust and old meat. We barricaded the doors, covered the windows. Soto prepped the syringe. We go under together, 3 hours max. What if we don't wake up? Then we won't know. The needle bit. Darkness swallowed me whole. The dream place I stood in Los Suzulas. Not the burned ruins, the before. Children played in the square, women hung laundry, normal, peaceful. Then the sky ripped. A black fissure split the clouds. Things dropped through, shapeless at first, then molding themselves into human forms as they fell. The villagers didn't scream. They stopped. Froze mid-motion as the shapes poured into their open mouths. One turned to me. Its smile had too many teeth. You're loud, it whispered. I woke screaming. 11:03 a.m. The truth, Soto was already awake, scribbling madly in a notebook. It's not an infection, she said without looking up. It's an invasion. She shoved the notebook at me. Crude drawings of the black fissure. The falling shapes, a massive eye floating above the village. They're riding the signal, she said, using the zone's EM fields as a bridge. The sleepers aren't victims, they're vessels. I touched my throbbing temple. And we're carrying stowaways. Outside, the wind howled like a thing in pain. We need to get to the source, Soto said, wherever that fissure first opened. I stared at her drawings. At the eye. We already know where, I whispered. 1 p.m., the decision. The highway to the zone of silence was empty. Too empty. No birds, no cars, just the sun beating down like a searchlight. Soto checked our stolen gear. 2 pistols, useless but comforting. A satellite phone, dead. The last cortisol syringe. If we're right, she said, this ends one of 2 ways. I already knew we'd either seal the rift or become the thing's perfect translators. The road blurred ahead, not from heat. From something standing just beyond sight, warping the air around it. Don't think, Soto warned. But it was too late. I'd already recognized it. The air shimmered like oil on water as we crossed into the zone of silence. Our Jeep's engine sputtered and died. No warning, just silence, as if the desert itself had swallowed the sound. Soto checked her watch. The second hand had frozen. We're close. Ahead, the cracked earth formed strange patterns, spirals and jagged lines that looked too precise to be natural. My skin prickled. The pressure in my skull pulsed, like a rotten tooth throbbing in time with some unseen heartbeat. "It's calling them," I whispered. Soto didn't ask what I meant. She felt it too. 3:17 p.m. The sinkhole. We found it half a mile off-road, a yawning pit where the earth had collapsed inward. The edges were too smooth, almost melted. And the shadows, they twisted wrong, stretching upward instead of away from the sun, as if gravity meant nothing here. Soto tied a rope to the jeep. "We go down, find the source." "And do what exactly?" She loaded the pistol. "Whatever we have to." The descent was worse than I imagined. The rope burned my palms. The air grew thicker, older, tasting of copper and wet stone. 30 feet down, my flashlight flickered, and I saw them, handprints, dozens, maybe hundreds, pressed into the walls like fossilized screams, some human, some not. Then the rope jerked. I looked up. Soto wasn't holding it anymore. She stood at the sinkhole's edge, her head tilted at an impossible angle. "You're loud, Matteo," she said, but the voice wasn't hers. The rope snapped. 3:42 p.m. The underworld. I hit the ground hard. My ankle snapped with a wet crack. Pain blinded me. When my vision cleared, I wished it hadn't. The cavern stretched endlessly, its ceiling lost in darkness. Strange rock formations loomed, twisted pillars that looked eerily like figures frozen mid-scream. And at the center, a gate, not man-made, not natural, a jagged rip in reality itself, pulsing with black light. Shadows slithered through it like eels. The rift, I dragged myself toward it, my broken ankle screaming. The closer I got, the clearer the voices in my head became. "Join us." Sleep. No more pain. Then movement. Figures emerged from the dark. The missing villagers, the soldiers, the director. Their eyes were black pits. Their mouths moved in unison. "You brought us home." 4:08 p.m. The eye opens. The rift shuddered. Something stirred beyond it. Vast, hungry, an eye flickered into existence, not in the rift, but above it, floating in the air like a malignant sun. The same eye from my dreams, from Soto's drawings. It saw me, and it was angry. The possessed lunged. I fired the pistol, useless, until the click of an empty chamber echoed. Then the ground heaved. The rift screamed. A sound beyond noise, beyond pain, vibrating my bones to powder. The possessed collapsed like puppets with cut strings. And Soto, real Soto, crashed down beside me, a syringe glinting in her hand. "Cortisol bomb," she gasped, "froze every brain in a mile radius." She plunged the needle into my neck. "Now think, damn you. Think of nothing." 4:19 p.m. The silence. The cortisol hit like a freight train. My mind emptied, thoughts dissolved like sugar in water. The eye above the rift wavered, confused, blind. For the first time, it didn't see me. Soto grabbed dynamite from a dead soldier's pack. "The gate closes, today." She lit the fuse. The eye shrieked. The rift reached for us. As the dynamite arced through the air, 4:20 p.m. The collapse. The explosion wasn't loud, it was absence, a vacuum where sound should be. The cavern imploded. The rift screeched as it was torn apart, the eye blinking out like a snuffed candle. Then, darkness. It meant waking. I woke to sunlight. The sinkhole was gone, just flat desert stretching in every direction. Sotu lay beside me, her chest rising and falling, alive. My head was quiet, no pressure, no whispers, just silence, a real one this time. Epilogue. 2 weeks later, the world called it a miracle. The sleeping sickness vanished overnight. Victims woke confused but unharmed. Governments blamed solar flares, mass hysteria, anything but the truth. We knew better. Soto and I never spoke of what happened in the cavern. Some doors should stay closed. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I catch myself listening, waiting for the whispers to return, and wondering, what if we only closed one gate? The desert sun burned white-hot as I stood over the unmarked grave. 6 feet of packed earth, no name, no dates, just a crude cross made from splintered wood. "We should go," Soto said behind me, her voice rough from smoke and exhaustion, "before they come looking." I kicked dust over the fresh mound. The body beneath wasn't human, not anymore. We'd found it 3 days after sealing the rift, crawling from the ruins of a collapsed mine shaft. Its skin had been wrong, stretched too tight, translucent, like something wearing a man's face like ill-fitting clothing. The pistol in my waistband felt heavier than it should. 3 weeks after the rift. The world moved on, news cycles shifted. The sleeping sickness became another conspiracy theory, filed away between UFOs and government mind control experiments. But in the medical journals, in the classified reports Soto somehow accessed, the truth lingered. A village in Siberia where 143 people simultaneously forgot their own names. A fishing boat off the coast of Chile recovered with no crew, just their clothes, still damp, arranged in perfect human shapes on the deck. An entire subway train in Tokyo found empty except for pairs of shoes placed neatly in every seat. The patterns were there, and we were the only ones looking. Safe house, near Hermosillo. The cortisol withdrawals nearly killed me. Sweats, tremors, visions of that eye floating behind my eyelids every time I blinked. Soto monitored my vitals with stolen equipment. "Your brain's rewiring itself," she said as I vomited into a bucket. "It's like coming off heroin if heroin was a cosmic horror." I wiped my mouth. "Any good news?" "Your EEG's clean. No residual passengers." The window rattled, not from wind, from the thump of something heavy landing on the roof. We didn't breathe for 10 minutes. It didn't come back. The first new rule. No sleeping at the same time. We took shifts, 2 hours awake, 2 hours under watch. Never more. The dreams were worse now. In mine, I stood in an endless library where the books screamed when touched. Soto dreamt of surgical theaters where the scalpels moved on their own. Neither of us mentioned the recurring detail. A door at the edge of vision. Getting closer each night. The second new rule. No hospitals, no doctors. When Soto's infection flared, a gash on her leg gone septic, we stole antibiotics from a veterinary clinic. She ran a 104-degree fever for 2 days. In her delirium, she spoke in a language that crackled like static. I held the pistol to her temple more than once. She woke on the 3rd day. The first thing she said, "It's not over. It's learning." The mine shaft. We shouldn't have gone back, but the coordinates called to us, a sick pull in our guts like a magnet dragging iron filings. The sinkhole was gone, filled in by the military or the desert itself. But 50 yards west, a new crack in the earth, no wider than a man's hand. When I dropped a pebble in, we never heard it hit bottom. Soto pressed her ear to the fissure. Her face went slack. "It's breathing," she whispered. We ran. The journal, we started documenting everything. Locations of new silent zones, patterns in the disappearances, the way electronics glitched near certain areas, and the most terrifying entry, "It adapts. The first wave needed sleep to take hosts. The second wave used radio waves. The third, we think it's using memory itself as a vector." I caught Soto staring at her reflection too long sometimes. Testing, waiting, the last rule, no goodbyes. When the soldiers came, because of course they were coming, we split up. Soto took the journal, I took the gun. "If you hear me on the radio," she said, "shoot the fucking speaker." I watched her jeep vanish into the desert. Then I turned north, toward the border, toward the fresh reports of an entire town in Arizona where every mirror had shattered at the same instant. The radio in my stolen pickup truck crackled to life just outside Tucson. "Repeat, all residents remain indoors. Do not look at reflective surfaces. The contamination spreads through." The transmission cut off with a burst of static. I pulled over, hands shaking, and stared at the rearview mirror. My reflection stared back. Sunken eyes, unshaven jaw, but when I leaned closer, something was off. The reflection blinked first. I smashed the mirror with the butt of my pistol. Safe house, Tucson, Arizona. The apartment stank of ammonia and burnt coffee. I'd taped over every mirror, covered the TV screen with a blanket, even blacked out the microwave door. On the kitchen table, Soto's last message burned into my retinas. It's in the silver, don't trust your eyes. Head to coordinates. 31.7. 727 degrees north, 110.6346 degrees west. Bring fire. The numbers matched a patch of desert near Tombstone, ghost town territory. I packed the duffel bag, gasoline cans, road flares, the last cortisol syringe, and the pistol. Always the pistol. The drive south, Highway 80, was deserted. Abandoned cars lined the shoulders, some with doors hanging open, others with dark stains on the seats. Every few miles, another emergency broadcast interrupted the static. Outbreak contained to southern Arizona. Lie. Avoid eye contact with affected individuals. Too late. Memory is the vector. Do not recall your... Click. I kept driving. The thing in my head, the passenger, stirred every time I passed a roadside diner with gleaming chrome or a car with untaped windows. It was learning, and it was hungry. Tombstone outskirts, nightfall. The coordinates led to an abandoned silver mine. Of course, Soto stood by the entrance, her silhouette backlit by flickering lanterns. She didn't turn as I approached. "You're late," she said. Her voice was wrong, gritty, like two stones grinding together. I kept my hand near the pistol. Traffic was hell. She finally turned. Her eyes were black, not dilated, filled. "It's in the ore veins," she said. "The whole mine's infected. We have to burn it." I nodded toward the gasoline. "Will that be enough?" Her smile stretched too wide. "Let's find out." The descent. The mine shaft swallowed us whole. Every lantern we passed showed our reflections, except mine moved independently, mouthing words I couldn't hear. Soto's didn't appear at all. Deeper in, the walls glistened. Not with moisture, with silver veins pulsing like slow, sick hearts. "It's growing," Soto whispered, using the metal like nerves. Then we found the bodies, miners, dozens of them, embedded in the walls like fossils, their mouths stretched in silent screams. Their skin had fused with the silver, and their eyes, all black, all watching. The core. The tunnel opened into a cavern. At its center stood a monolith, not rock, not metal, but something between, its surface shifting like liquid mercury. Reflections moved inside it. Not ours, them. The things from the rift. "The silver's a conduit," Soto said. "A back door into our world." I unscrewed the first gasoline can. "Then we slam it shut." She didn't help, just stared at the monolith with those black eyes. "Soto." Her head twitched, not a human motion, something practicing. "They're so much quieter now," she murmured. "No more screaming, no more thinking." I reached for the pistol. She moved faster. The choice. The gunshot echoed like thunder. Soto collapsed, clutching her shoulder. Real blood, real pain. The thing inside her hissed. "You'll join us," it spat through her lips. "All of you, in the silence." I kicked the gasoline cans toward the monolith. Not today. The road flare arced through the air, the firestorm heat. Light. Soto screaming, really screaming, as the thing inside her burned. The monolith shrieked in 1,000 voices. The silver veins in the walls curled like dying worms. We barely made it out. The mine collapsed behind us, sealing the horror underground. For now. Epilogue, dawn. We sat in the pickup, watching the smoke rise. Soto's eyes were hers again, bloodshot, exhausted but human. "It's not over," she rasped. I nodded. The pistol lay between us. Neither of us mentioned how our reflections in the windshield still moved a half-second too slow. "Where now?" I asked. She pointed north, toward the storm gathering on the horizon, toward the next nightmare. "Before we move on, please donate me in the form of subscribe."